Hello and welcome to Amazon Web Services webcast, introducing Amazon QuickSight. Before we begin, I would like to walk the audience through a few items. On your screen, you can see a Q&A pod. Please submit your questions for our presenter and Q&A moderators at any time, and we will address them throughout today's presentation, as well as in the live Q&A session in the end. At the conclusion of today's presentation, there will be 3 poll questions proceeding the live Q&A. Today's webcast is being recorded, and we will send you a follow-up email with the URL to the recording once we verify the recording quality, as well as a link to the presentation deck. And again, welcome to today's webinar, introducing Amazon QuickSight. Our presenter is Louise Wen. Louise is a Senior Product Manager at AWS for Amazon QuickSight, a fast, easy-to-use, cloud-powered business intelligence service at one of the 10th cost of most old-guard business intelligence solutions. Prior to working on Amazon QuickSight, Louis spent 3 years in Amazon EC2 team as the product manager. He holds an MBA from the University of Virginia Darden School of Business and majored in computer science from the National Taiwan University. Prior to AWS, Louis spent years in product marketing and product management in the mobile and e-commerce industries. Today with us, we also have Joe Strong, Senior Technical Product Manager, and Greg Corella, Business Development Manager. Joe and Greg will engage with you and answer questions throughout today's presentation while Louis presents. Louis, welcome. I now pass the floor to you.
Thank you, Bowen. And thanks everyone for joining us today on this webinar. As you may know, we announced Amazon QuickSight back at reInvent in October. For those of you who weren't able to attend the reInvent and our sessions at the event, this is an opportunity for us to share with you what we have built with Amazon QuickSight. So to get started, here's what you should expect from this webinar. We'll start by giving you an overview of AWS Big Data and Analytics strategy. I'll talk a little bit about what are some of the challenges that customers face with big data analytics and how we've built Amazon QuickSight to address some of these challenges and the innovations that we've built behind it. As you may know, there's many thousands of companies today that use AWS for big data. These companies come in all sizes and shapes and industries. For example, we have NTT Docomo, Samsung, Philips, Nokia as enterprise customers that use AWS for big data and analytics. We also have innovative startups and technology companies such as Netflix, Yelp, and Airbnb that use AWS for their big data. So the natural question really is, why do all these customers use AWS for their big data? The answer is really very simple. We start with the customers and we take on big challenges that they have and we innovate on their behalf. So to give you an example, let's look back a little bit at the history of AWS Big Data Services. In the past, customers have told us that managing databases is really difficult and painful. They've told us that SQL database does not perform well at scale, that Hadoop is difficult to deploy and manage, that data warehouses are complex, costly, and slow, and commercial databases are punitive and expensive. And in response to this customer's feedback, we have built a number of different data services within AWS to address their challenges. For example, we have built Amazon RDS as a managed database. We have built DynamoDB to address the scalability issues of SQL-based databases. We have built Amazon EMR as a managed Hadoop service to make it really easy for customers to run Hadoop workloads on the AWS cloud. And we have also built Redshift, which is a petabyte scale, super fast data warehouse services that we offer at a fraction of the cost of most commercial data warehouses. And we also recently launched Amazon Aurora, which today is the fastest growing AWS service in the history of AWS. So when we think of big data, there are typically a number of different steps that customers take from data that they collect to being able to analyze their data. The first step, obviously, is to be able to collect this data. And within AWS, we offer a number of different services that allows customers to collect their data and bring it into AWS. For example, we have Direct Connect that allow customers to connect their on-premise network to AWS VPCs. We have AWS Import-Export and also Amazon Kinesis. And once customers collect this data, they need somewhere where they can store it. In Amazon, we offer Amazon S3 as a scalable and redundant, highly available object storage. For customers that want to store the data that are non-frequently accessed, we offer Amazon Glacier. We also offer Amazon RDS and Aurora as managed databases that provides ability for customers to issue queries. And as well as DynamoDB, which is our NoSQL and structured data stores. Now that the data is stored in one of the AWS services, customers also want to be able to analyze this data. And we offer services like EMR to be able to allow customers to analyze their data using the Hadoop framework. And we also offer Amazon Redshift, for example, that provides petabyte scale data warehouse capability. Recently, in reInvent, we also announced a number of different services that expands on these capabilities. For example, Kinesis Firehose allows customers to ingest a massive amount of streaming data into AWS. We announced AWS Data Migration Service that allows customers to migrate their database into AWS, as well as Amazon Kinesis Analytics, which provides SQL on top of Kinesis streams. Today, we're going to be focusing on Amazon QuickSight. So what are some of the big data challenges that our customers face today? From what we've learned from our customers, we know that customers don't have a problem with data. In fact, they actually have a lot of data coming from many of their applications, such as IoT, mobile, website click streams, as well as a number of different enterprise applications. We also know that customers don't have a problem of questions. In fact, they have lots and lots of questions that they want to be able to answer from this data. For example, customers want to know, how is my marketing campaign performing? Who are my top customers and why are they buying? How much inventory do I have? What is my product profitability by region? And why is my profitable region not growing? As a few examples. What we have found, however, is that even though customers have a lot of questions, what they really run into is the challenge of answering these questions, and they have a problem of getting insight out of their data. Today, we've heard from a lot of customers that they're using a lot of the old, what we consider old guard BI tools that have been created 20 or 10 years ago. Many of these tools, customers run into a lot of challenges with them. For example, one of the main pain points that customers run into with this old guard BI tool is around cost. A lot of these BI tools simply cost too much. For example, customers have to pay millions upfront before being able to see their first analyses. And we did some TCO analysis on many different BI solutions in the market, and we found that on a 3-year total cost of ownership basis, customers pay around $150 to $250 per user per month. And on top of that, it is not just that this BI solution costs a lot, but they also require customers to spend a lot of time implementing these solutions. Typically, what we've seen is customers spend 6 to 12 months of consulting and also software implementation time to be able to deploy these BI solutions internally. So Customers not only pay millions for the software license and provisioning the hardware, it takes a lot of time to be able to implement and deploy this BI solution. And on top of that, what we have seen is as the customer's data volume grows and the number of users that customers want to deploy their BI solution to increases, the performance of this BI solution starts to degrade. In the recent years, we have also seen new workloads appear, such as NoSQL, streaming data set, IoT, and mobile and sharing. And what we've seen is that in many cases, customers have to either treat this as a separate project or pay additional in order to be able to benefit from these use cases. And customers have told us that they've really run into a brick wall in order for them to scale their BI solution. And that's why we build Amazon QuickSight, to be able to provide our customers with the freedom to get the real value out of the data that they have. So what is Amazon QuickSight? In short, Amazon QuickSight is a very fast cloud-powered BI service for 1/10 the cost of Olgar BI solution. And it starts at as low as $9 per user per month with a 1-year commitment. We've designed Amazon QuickSight primarily targeting at business users so that any business user will be able to get insight out of the data, not only really fast, but without any technical capabilities or requirement. So with QuickSight, users will be able to sign in and start using Amazon QuickSight and create and build their first visualization and analysis within 60 seconds. If you have not registered for a preview for Amazon QuickSight, you can do so at aws.amazon.com/QuickSight, and we'll get you whitelisted and onboarded into our preview program as soon as we can. So let me walk you through a high-level architectural diagram of how Amazon QuickSight works. As a business user, you'll be able to log in and access Amazon QuickSight either via your laptop or desktop web browser or through your mobile devices. We will support mobile applications for both iOS and Android as native applications. You can also access Amazon QuickSight via your tablets. The front end of QuickSight connects to our backend via the QuickSight API. On the backend, we've built QuickSight as a scalable infrastructure made up of microservices, and there are 5 key components to our backend that I'm going to walk you through today. First is the connectors framework. We've built a connectors framework so that we can allow customers to use QuickSight to connect to all of the AWS data sources. This includes Amazon Redshift, RDS, S3, Kinesis, Amazon DynamoDB, and EMR. As a business user, you'll also be able to use QuickSight to analyze flat files that are stored on a local computer. For example, you can upload CSVs and Excel files to QuickSight and create visualization based on those data. Over time, we'll also support enterprise applications that are API-based and allow you to use QuickSight to analyze those data as well. Examples include Salesforce and Google Analytics. In addition to that, we've also heard that customers want to use a BI solution to analyze your data on-premise. With Amazon QuickSight, you'll also be able to connect QuickSight to the data sources that reside on-premise via our JDBC, ODBC connectors. So once you connected QuickSight to one of the data sources where your data reside, you can either select a table and start visualizing your data immediately, or you can go through what we call a data prep. And what data prep allows users to do is to shape and scope and clean their data for analysis. For example, you'll be able to join tables within a database, you can filter your data down to a subset that you want to analyze. You can select which fields within the data source you want to include or exclude in the analysis. And you can also perform certain calculations and aggregations within the QuickSight UI. All of this preparation is captured in our metadata service that will allow us to continuously apply this transformation to your data, as well as allow you to reuse this transformation for different data sets. Once you prepare your data, the data that you have scoped will be materialized and ingested in what we call our SPICE engine. And SPICE stands for Super Fast Parallel In-Memory Calculation Engine. It is in-memory optimized stores and designed to provide a really fast query response time and data visualization and exploration experience in our UI. We'll talk a little bit more about SPICE later on, but SPICE also will allow you to perform a number of different actions, such as, for example, incrementally update SPICE as the data within your original data source changes. And then finally, we've built a functionality that we call suggestions. And suggestions are really targeted at users who may not be very familiar with the data set that is available within their data source, but they want to be able to have a quick way to get started. And so suggestions will provide a set of recommended visualizations that QuickSight suggests based on the analysis that we have done on the data set. For example, we do schema inference, we look at the data cardinality and the data type, and we create a number of different visualization suggestions that customers can easily click and get started with their analysis as a first step in their analysis. So we've built all of these technologies in the back end, and these are all available from the QuickSight UI. But we're also aware that a lot of customers today have already invested in a lot of the BI solutions out there in the market, and we wanted to make these capabilities available to them as well. So we've partnered with a number of different AWS BI partners, such as Tableau, TIBCO, Domo, and Qlik, to make this technology available to their customers. So for example, if you are using one of these solutions today and you are either invested in it or you like the functionality and the UI experience that this solution provides, you can use this solution and then connect to our QuickSight backend and the SPICE engine via a connector that we provide as a data source, and being able to analyze your data with the existing tools that you have. And this allows you to continue to use a tool that you're familiar with while getting the performance and the scalability that we have built for you. So in the last several weeks, we have heard from our customers that, that I have multiple data sets on premise and on AWS from different data sources, and I need to make this data available. I need to manage the access to this data and enable our business users. So how do I do this? Typically, we see a number of ways that work very well for customers. The first step that is involved in this scenario is to make your data available in what we call data lakes. And you can see data lakes as small data marts using either Amazon S3 or Amazon Redshift. The service that you use will depend exactly on your use case. For example, if you wanted to store your data as objects, then you can use Amazon S3. Or if you want a queryable interface and petabyte scalability, then you can use Amazon Redshift. And then from there, you can then manage the data access with bucket policies in the case of S3 or schema level policies in the case of Amazon Redshift, and enable your users with Amazon QuickSight to use SPICE. So let me walk you through architecturally how that will work. So let's say as a customer you have data on-premise, you may have data on Amazon EMR or or Hadoop cluster that you self-manage, or you may have data stored in DynamoDB or another NoSQL data store such as MongoDB or Cassandra, or log files and APIs. What you'll be able to do is ingest this data and make this data available within S3 and Amazon Redshift data lakes. And from there on, you can then manage the data access policies, either at the bucket level or at the schema level. And this will allow you to set fine-grained granular access controls to your end users in this data management layer. Once you have set the data access policies at the data management layer, then you can ingest this data into QuickSight, into our Spice engine, and make this data available via the QuickSight user to your end users. For example, you can enable your sales team within your organization to only have access to the sales data as a standalone Spice table within QuickSight, and your marketing team only have access to the marketing data as a standalone data set within QuickSight, and so on. Within QuickSight, we also offer both user-level access control as well as resource-level access control. So a combination of this with the data management layer at the bucket and schema level permissions will allow you to be able to granularly control access of your organization's data to your end users. So let's summarize a little bit on what are some of the key innovations that we've built with Amazon QuickSight. As I stated earlier, it is really easy to explore the data that resides within AWS data. We automatically discover all the data sources for you. You can easily connect them and start analyzing your data. With QuickSight, it is backed by our Spice engine, which is an in-memory optimized engine that, as the number of users that you want to deploy BI to and the volume of data that grows, will automatically scale that for you so that you don't need to manage any BI hardware or purchase any software license. One of the interesting functionalities that we've built with Amazon QuickSight is what we call Autograph. And what Autograph allows you to do is it will automatically generate the best visualization for the data set that you have selected. So we'll look into this a little bit more in our demo. With QuickSight, we also offer native mobile application for both the iOS and the Android platforms that you can use to consume the analysis that either you have created or that others have shared with you. And finally, we also built a functionality that we call Storyboard, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as well, that allows you to securely and easily share the insight that you have captured within QuickSight to others in your organization. So how do I spice up my data? And it is really simple. Basically, all you need to do is log into the QuickSight UI, point QuickSight to one of your data sources. You can then shape and scope the data and then ingest that data into our Spice engine. Our Spice engine is optimized for data visualization exploration. And once the data is within the Spice engine, you will be able to visualize it and get really fast interactive analytical experience within our UI. So let me talk to you a little bit about some of the data prep capabilities that we offer in Amazon QuickSight today. With data prep, we allow users to scope, shape, and transform, and also clean their data that they want to ingest into QuickSight. For example, once you connect QuickSight to one of the data sources, you'll get a preview of your data. And within the preview, you can perform inline transformation or change the data type. For example, from strings to numbers or vice versa. we support the ability for users to be able to create calculated fields, and users can perform string, date, numerical, or logical operations on the data that is available in their data set. All of the changes that you've made within data prep will be captured as templates that you can then reuse the same data prep step that you have taken on different data sets. Within data prep, you can also perform joins across different tables within your data source. You can apply row-level filters on your data. For example, if you want to only ingest a subset of the data, for example, in your Amazon Redshift cluster, you'll be able to do that with filters as well. We will allow you to set hierarchical relationships between your data. For example, if you have different fields, one is city, one is state, one is country, you can create that relationship up front, and within analysis, being able to easily drill down and zoom back up on your data at different levels of granularities. So let's talk a little bit about SPICE. SPICE, as I mentioned earlier, stands for Super Fast Parallel In-Memory Optimized Calculation Engine. It is an engine that we built from scratch on top of both software innovations and hardware innovations that we've built. We compress the data in a columnar format, and then we also compile it down to machine code for optimal performance. SPICE supports a number of different rich calculations, and we also intend to make the engine available via a SQL-like interface that customers will eventually be able to use to query, to perform ad hoc SQL queries on their data. As I mentioned earlier, SPICE is an in-memory optimized engine, which means that it can provide a really fast response time to most data visualization and exploration queries. And most importantly, SPICE is a fully managed service, which means that you don't have to provision any hardware, you don't need to manage any instances or clusters or purchase software license. As your data volume grows or the number of users that you want to make it available to increases, you don't have to scale that manually as well. We'll automatically apply and add additional resources on the back end to support your growth. So earlier I mentioned about Autograph. This is an example of what Autograph does. Essentially, as you select the data type within different data within your data set, will automatically generate the visualization that best matches your data based on the data type and the data cardinality that we infer. As you continue to layer upon the visualization additional data, for example, in this case, as you add a date field, for example, will automatically transition that visual into a time series graph, which is the most appropriate graph selection for data with time on it, right? And you will also be able to manually change the graph type to one that you prefer in our UI. The other thing I want to talk about is functionality that we call Storyboard. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Essentially, Storyboard allows you to capture a sequence of insight that you have generated as you analyze and explore your data. For example, as you create visualizations, you can capture what we call snapshot of an analysis and then build a story of these snapshots into a sequence that you can then share with others within your organization. And once your audience receives the storyboard that you've shared with them, they will be able to replay through the exact same sequence to be able to understand, what is the process that you have went through to generate the insight and the conclusion that you have arrived. So it is a very simple way for you to share not just the outcome, but also the process in which you arrive at a conclusion. And we'll also demo that in a minute. So now let's switch to the demo. This is the landing page of Amazon QuickSight, and once you log in, you'll see this is a home page. On this page, you'll see all of the different analysis that you have created in the past. Each of these tiles represent an analysis. You can think of an analysis as a workbook or a dashboard that contains multiple visualizations that you have created. And each of these tiles also shows a thumbnail and a snapshot in time view of the data that is available within this analysis. In this demo, I'm going to create a new analysis and walk you through what that experience is like. So I'm going to connect to one of the existing data sets that I've created within QuickSight. This is a flights data downloaded from the FAA website. This is a public data set that contains several million rows of data and capture all the flight information that have taken place within the United States for the past several years. Once you select a table, you have two options. You can either import the table and start visualizing, or you can prepare the data as we've discussed earlier. For the purpose of the demo, let me just import a table and start visualizing it. Once you select a table, this is the view where you're going to start creating your visualizations. On the right side is the main canvas where the visualization is going to be generated. And on the left side, at the top, you will see all the data fields that are available within this data set. And on the bottom are the visual suggestions that we have generated based on the schema inference, the data cardinality analysis, and data type that we've done. For example, in this case, one of the suggested visuals is distance by flight date. So as a business user, if I'm not very familiar with this data set, I can just click on this icon, and what that'll do is it'll generate automatically a visual that shows the total distance flown in the last several years within the US. And I can hover over the different data points. I can see the exact values. I can also start drilling down on this visualization to gain more insights. So let me delete this, and we can start from scratch here. So let me create a new visual. And this data set is particularly interesting because it contains a lot of interesting flight metrics. For example, it captures airtime, it captures arrival delay, departure delay, cancellation, flight dates, as well as where did the flight originate from and where did it land. So let's look at, for example, origin city. So if I click on the origin city field, automatically QuickSight will generate a visualization that shows me the total number of flights flown from each of the cities within the United States. Notice that I didn't have to think about what goes on x-axis, what goes on y-axis, how should I group my data by. Based on the data field that I selected, it automatically generates the best possible visualization for my data. So in this case, you can see that Atlanta and Chicago both are the top cities within the United States where flights originate from. And that makes sense because they have one of the largest airline hubs there. And you can hover over each of the individual data points and look at the number of flights that originated from each of the cities. So I'm from Seattle, so let me drill into the flights that originate from Seattle by clicking on the data point, and I can either focus on Seattle or exclude Seattle from the visualization. Let me focus on Seattle. By focusing on Seattle, I've effectively created a filter that filters the origin city name field on Seattle. And from there on, I can start to pivot my data and look at some really interesting analysis. For example, if I wanted to know what are all the places that people in Seattle travel to, I can also choose a destination city directly from the visual. And what this will give me is a graph that shows all the top destination cities that people in Seattle travel to. So San Francisco is the top, followed by LA, Anchorage, Denver, Colorado, Chicago, etc. So I find this data set very interesting because I was also able to use this in the past to analyze and look into the flight that I should take for my trip. Specifically, as part of the last reInvent, I used this tool to help me plan my trip to Las Vegas. And let me show you a little bit what I did here. So I can, in addition to just zooming in on Seattle, I can continue to zoom in and drill into the data that I want. So in this case, let me focus on Las Vegas. Now I've created two sets of filters, right? One is filtering on origin city name by Seattle, and the other is destination city as Las Vegas. And from there on, I can pivot the data to look at across other dimensions. For example, I can look at what are all the flights that flies between the two cities by changing destination city here to carrier. And what you see here now is a number of flights across the different carriers that flies between these two cities. AS stands for Alaska Airlines, WN I believe is Southwest, and this is SkyWest, US Airways, and Delta, and so on. So by default, QuickSight does a count of all the rows. So this gives me an idea of the number of flights that I've taken from each of these carriers. But I'd really like to look at some more interesting metrics around this data. I've mentioned earlier that this data set contains some really interesting metrics. For example, I can look at the departure delay. And what that'll give me is, and I can change this from aggregate none to average. And this will give me the average departure delay for flights for each of these carriers between these two cities. So as you can see, on average, Southwest Airlines has a departure delay of roughly 10 minutes when flying from Seattle to Las Vegas, whereas Alaska Airlines has an average departure delay less than 1 minute. In addition to that, you can continue to overlay data on top of the visualization as well. For example, if I wanted to know how departure delay varies over time, I can also select a date field. So in this case, let me choose flight date, for example. What that will give me is a time series graph with flight dates by each of these carriers year over year. By default, QuickSight aggregates the data at the year level, and I can change that to different granularities. For example, I can change that to a month, week, day, or hour. Let's look at how departure delays, for example, varies over month. So now you can see that I have month-over-month departure delay by carrier. You can see that between the end of 2013 and beginning of 2014, Delta and Southwest had some, departure delay issues that may have skewed their overall departure delay metric. So these are some of the basic analysis that you can easily do with Amazon QuickSight. As you do this analysis, one thing that you can also do is capture each of these visualization and compose a storyboard out of it by clicking on this capture button. Once you click on that, we will create a snapshot of the data for you, and you can name this, let's name this snapshot departure delay over time. And you can create multiple of these snapshots as you analyze your data. For example, let's remove the date field and let's look at the departure delay data across different carriers throughout the entire span of this data set. And let's capture this as well. So now I can name the second visual departure delay by carrier. Once I've composed the storyboard into a sequence that I want, I can then share this storyboard with others within my organization. when they receive the invitation, they will be able to click on a link in their email and then place through the story. And this is what the experience looks like. What they'll get is a full screen interactive visualization experience. So these are not static images. Users will be able to hover over it, see the different data points. They can continue to drill down on this data as well by interacting with the axis on the visualizations. And they can play through the different scenes in the storyboard. All of this data is captured in a snapshot, and if you give your users the right privileges, they'll also be able to go beyond the snapshot data and look at the live real-time data as well. So that is a quick demo of Amazon QuickSight. Let's go back to the presentation. In addition to be able to create visualizations, we are also building the ability for users to be able to create dashboard that is a composition of multiple visualizations, and users will be able to create dashboard with different layouts, customize the look and feel, as well as being able to publish this dashboard to others within their organizations. Each of the visualizations you'll also be able to embed into either your website or your corporate intranet or even your applications, and allow you to share the data that you have generated to your audience. So to summarize, Amazon QuickSight provides a way for business users to get started really fast on analyzing their data. We allow users to easily connect to their AWS data sources and explore their data. All this is backed by our super fast parallel in-memory calculation engine that provides speed of thought response time to most data visualization and exploration query. We provide a number of different sharing and collaboration functionalities that allows users to be able to share the insight that they've generated more broadly within their organization. Most importantly, QuickSight is a fully managed cloud-based service. That means you don't need to manage any BI infrastructure. You don't need to worry about software licenses or license renewal. You don't need to worry about scaling your BI as the data volume grows. And lastly, it is available at a low cost. QuickSight is available in 2 editions. First is the standard edition, which provides all the core ad hoc analysis experience, all the data connectors you will be able to share, embed. You get the full mobile experience at $9 per user per month. And in addition to that, we also offer an enterprise edition of the software that, in addition to providing all of the features that are available in the standard edition, we also provide a number of different enterprise-friendly functionalities such as directory service integration, fine-grained user access control, encryption at rest, and 2x the throughput of standard edition. And that one starts at $18 per user per month. You can subscribe to QuickSight either with an annual subscription, or if you wanted to try out QuickSight and go with a month-to-month basis, you can also do that at $12 and $24 per user per month, depending on the edition that you go with. Each user comes with 10 gigabytes of spice capacity, and this is in-memory optimized storage. The number of, as you provision more users, you get more capacity as a whole, and this capacity is pooled. So for example, if you provision 100 users, you will get 1 terabyte of total spice capacity that you can freely allocate amongst your users. And if you need to provision additional spice capacity, you can also do so at 25 cents per gigabyte for the standard edition and 38 cents per gigabyte for the enterprise edition. So again, if you have not signed up for preview, we encourage you to do so at aws.amazon.com/QuickSight. Thank you very much, and let's get into the questions. So we have a question from Spencer Smith asking, will Spice be available for use without QuickSight? So QuickSight is the service that we're offering, and Spice is a very important component within QuickSight. Spice will not be available to use without QuickSight, as it is not a standalone service, but you will be able to use our UI to query the data that is available in Spice. You'll also be able to use, as I mentioned in the presentation, you'll also be able to use the tools from our BI partners such as Tableau, TIBCO, Domo, and Click as a front end to query data that is available within Spice. So this is a common question that a lot of you may have. What is this expectation on timelines for bringing on users? We've announced the service at reInvent. We're doing the final touch on the service to begin onboarding external customers to QuickSight. We expect to begin onboarding customers by the end of this month, and we'll gradually ramp up the number of users that we whitelist until the end of the year. We expect that a majority of the users that have signed up for preview will be able to get access hopefully either by the end of the year or early in 2016. So that is the timeline that you should expect from us. Once you sign up for preview and once we start onboarding customers, you will get an email from us with instruction on how to get started with QuickSight, and we'll get you up and running really quickly. So here's a question coming from Darius. In which region is QuickSight Preview currently available? Immediately, QuickSight is available in our US East region, and shortly in the next few weeks, we'll also make it available in our EU West Oregon region, as well as our region, Dublin region as well. And between then and our general availability of our service, we'll incrementally roll out QuickSight to the remaining regions within AWS. So here's another question that many of you will be interested in. How much data can I store in Spice? With Spice, you can store as little data as you want or as much data as you want. We'll be able to seamlessly scale the data volume from as little as a few gigabytes to several terabytes of in-memory optimized storage to provide really fast data visualization on the UI. So another question from participants, will white labeling custom branding be available for preview? So a lot of customers have asked this question, and the intention here is to be able to either customize or rebrand QuickSight either to resell it or to make it available internally and match the corporate identity of your organization. That functionality is in our roadmap. We plan to offer this as part of our enterprise edition of QuickSight. From a timeline perspective, we expect this to be available more closely towards general availability, which we believe will be which will be before the first half of 2016. So team asks, are you able to share projects or workbooks within QuickSight? So within QuickSight, we don't have a concept of project or workbooks, but we have a similar concept called Analysis. And Analysis is a collection of multiple visualizations and also includes like storyboards and dashboards that you can build. You can share an analysis with others within your organization. You can also share the specific dashboard or storyboards that you have created with others as well. Alex asks, what format does the data need to be in S3? Initially, we'll support flat file formats such as CSV. So if you have data sources, for example, in MongoDB or in Redshift, you can also, or from data from enterprise applications such as Salesforce and Google Analytics, you will be able to export those into flat files stored in S3 and analyze the data that way using QuickSight. A question from Douglas, can QuickSight handle streaming data in near real time? That is, set up a visualization which updates as the data arrive. Yes, our intention is to support a streaming data set either via Kinesis and also via DynamoDB streams. And what that will allow you to do is to ingest data in real time into our Spice engine and made available also visually in real time in our UI. So as the data is streaming into our Spice engine, the visualization that you have created on top of the streaming data will also reflect in near real time. Stefan asks, will Kinesis be a source to Spice or QuickSight? Object is real-time dashboard. So Kinesis will be a target source, data source for QuickSight, and you will be able to use QuickSight to connect to your Kinesis stream and ingest that data into Spice as a table. Colby asks, can you still build a table-like report that contains columns, rows, like an Excel spreadsheet? If so, what's a max column? So within QuickSight, you'll be able to create what we call pivot tables, and that allows you to pivot your data and aggregate data at different levels, and also create multiple either nested columns or rows of data based on your underlying data set. As part of pivot table, you'll also be able to create a pivot table that contains multi-metrics. So within each of the dimensions that you have, for example, you can have several metrics presented within the table. In terms of what is the max column that you can have, it really depends on the data set. We'll most likely be able to support up to several thousands of columns and rows. Rodolfo asks, can a storyboard be customized to the user viewing it? So the level of customization that we'll provide initially will allow you to set permissions on where's the access level that you want to grant your users with. Over time, we'll add additional functionalities that allows users to be able to customize the look and feel and the presentation mode of Storyboards. Tim asks, can you specify permissions for users? Is there a view-only user? Yes. So with QuickSight, you will be able to share either an analysis, a dashboard, or a storyboard to users within QuickSight, and be able to set permission as either contributor and co-owner, which they will have the ability to collaborate with you on modifying the visualizations and analysis, or as view-only users, which then they'll only have view-only capabilities on the user. In terms of user types, there is no difference in user type. So each user, depending on the edition that you're using, each user either comes at $9 per user per month or $18 per user per month for the enterprise edition.
Great. Thank you, Louis. I'd like to extend a special thank you to our presenter, Louis, for his time and a great presentation, and Joe and Greg, also Victoria, for answering the audience questions. If you have comments on our previous and upcoming webinars, please feel free to email to aws-webcasts@amazon.com. Again, the email address is aws-webcasts@amazon.com. Your feedback helps improve our webinar programming. We will close the session in 1 minute. If you can take a moment again to fill out the 3 poll questions to your left, it can help us improve our webinar overall planning. Thank you to our audience for taking the time to join us today. Enjoy the rest of your day.